Hi there everybody, welcome back to Prestige Auctions. I'm having some camera issues this morning, so if it keeps freezing I do apologise. I will try my best to keep talking. Okay, this is auction aftermath time. It's when we look at the auction that happened yesterday and have a chat to you about it. Why do we do these? Well, it's quite simple. We're very good at sticking promotional videos out there telling you the things that we want you to buy, but then we never tell you the reasons why afterwards. Why did people buy them? What was good what was a good, would have a good profit margin, what's good, what's not, and all the rest of it. So ultimately, if you watch the aftermath, we try and talk about just a few of the items that was in the sale. Remember, our sales are massive every single week. So I can tell you that this coming week, we've got some awesome auctions for you coming on. Loads of marble, we've got loads of hats, brand new, and loads of brand new stuff. We've got brand new trainers in this week's auction, and we've also got some cars as well, a few of them. So you need to be at the viewing for this one and looking at the sneak peek tomorrow night. But without further ado, this one's about the aftermath, so let's have a look at some of the things that's been going on this week. Well, what was there in the sale? Well, the start of the sale started off quite slow until we got to this item here, and this item here made a few quid. It's one of these crock pots, these sort of heavy steel things, and they always seem to do quite well. I've just noticed there on that on there, look, if you can see that, there's one of our old Pleasure Island stickers from years ago. I wonder why that's on there. Anyway, that's just another thing. So anyway, as we came down, we sold some of these nice modern pieces, and then the Art Deco clock, sort of mantle clock. We found out eventually what these pieces were here. There was something to do with a fire, apparently. And as we came down and started looking at things, there was more and more stuff that sold. Some of this stuff was really cheap. Some of the boxes of old phone cases, but phone cases go out of date. So, I mean, I would always say to people, if you are thinking of buying stuff like this, it can often look very cheap in the auction room, but don't get caught out, because ultimately, if you end up buying a load of cases that people don't use the phones for anymore, it's going to be very, very hard to sell on. So this stuff was doing well, this medical stuff, and then there was a few people bidding on the hop heads, or whatever they're called. When we come down here, some of the signs did well, the drums did okay. And the signs were doing quite well. A couple of people after the Manchester United bits, and then but then the CDs did well once again. £20 odd a box, I think, these. So as you started flicking through these, but remember, these are not just bog standards of stuff that didn't sell in charity shops and stuff like that. This is really good gear. So when it comes into the auction, there is a bit of a bun fight for it. Gaming was selling well again yesterday, as it seems to do quite well in here. Lego as well. I fancied having a bid on the Lego this week, but I was nowhere near the commission bid, so I lost out on that one. Big Track, that one was quite cheap. This one a few years ago used to make a few quid, but it's not really doing the money it used to anymore. Let's face it, when it came out in the 80s, it was a bit of a gimmick. You know, they sort of show you on the telly there where you could take a cup of tea to somebody in another room and all the rest of it. You know, it's actually a lot quicker to just carry it. But there you go. The brand new suitcases, they did all right. Homer Simpson dartboard. And once again, books was a bit of a mixed bag this week, I thought. Some of the books were cheap and then some were expensive. But ultimately, week on week, the books have been doing reasonably well. So I don't know quite what happened yesterday. They didn't seem to do as much money as they had been doing. But you never know. Week to week, things change. So as we come down the auction, I'm looking here to see what there was. This did okay. This little Royal Dalton set, I think it was, of all the miniature ladies there and with all the boxes underneath. They did a few quid. Somebody was been quite happy with those, I would have thought. And then as we come down this way, we got onto some of the pottery and the tigers and things, and one or two people were bidding on these in the room this week, so that was okay. As we come down this way, there was costume jewelry and stuff, not making loads of money this week. Gas masks did okay, that one there and that one there. They did a few quid, 20-30 quid I think they were. And then all the teddies sold again, once again. So all these big bags of teddies. And I would say to you every week, if you are thinking of buying, job lots. If you're thinking of reselling, then these are a good idea because there's lots of content in them. You can buy them reasonably cheap. You've only got to find one or two items in there and you're in the money straight away. So we come on to the boxes. Some boxes of household assortment and that came from a clearance that we did. We pulled the better bits out. And then when you came down here, boxes of toys and things. Once again, you know, they're a cheap way to get into reselling, but they can be a hard sell. So I'm talking about boxed games there. I'm not talking about action figures and stuff like that, because that's all dead easy to sell. We didn't have a lot of that in this week. Hopefully we'll get that back next week. And then when you come down this way, we got onto the cabinets, and the cabinets did all right this week. You know, silver was selling extremely well at Prestige this week. Lots of people with these nice pieces here that, you know, has 128 grams there, and then that sauce boat. Look at the shape of that. Just how nice is that? You know, this is old silver. This is how people used to live back in the day. If you had the money, of course. And then those bags of silver charms and things. I think we've got a bit more jewellery in next week, so hopefully that'll be okay. And then that little candlestick there, you know, that was another nice piece. Nice to have the candle snuffer with it on there as well. As we come down here, let's have a look. Card cases, everything in the silver line sort of did okay, I thought. And then the coins were doing okay. Some of the crowns were doing as high as £32 yesterday, you know, which is above scrap, but then it's not just all about the scrap. Don't get hung up on scrap, everybody. You know, ultimately, scrappies are okay, you can make money that way, but, you know, when it comes to coins, look for condition. If you can get that condition in the coins, you're going to make a few quid on top of the scrap anyway. So, you know, don't get hung up just about scrap price, because if you do, you'll lose out on good bits, which you could have bought and made some extra money on. If you paid a little bit above scrap, but it was a saleable item, then you're going to make money anyway. As we come down here, but this is where, to me, where the auction really got a bit more exciting yesterday. So this electrical stuff that we had, and most of this was from one property that we'd cleared, and I don't know what the gentleman was into, but he certainly had a lot of electrical stuff and power tools and this sort of stuff. You know, all of it, pretty much all of it sold. There wasn't a whole lot left over, and the stuff was really good quality and really, you know, cheap in terms of what you would have paid from the shops. And a lot of these pieces you can't buy anymore. So, you know, people were buying all this kind of gear up, and there's a few of those. And that time-lapse video recorder sold, and that sold. These sold. And then we started coming on to the sort of better audio equipment. These Bang & Olufsen turntables. Now, we don't know if he was repairing them, or if there was new or whatever. You know, as I keep having to have debates with people on the internet. I mean, we had another one last night talking about Pokemon cards. You know, I don't want to get into this too much, but ultimately, when you're a house clearance auction business, you have stuff coming into the auction week in, week out. And people will ask us the same questions. Is it genuine? Does it work? All these different questions that come to us every week. Now, if we was to spend every moment of our week looking through boxes, seeing if something, trying to guess if something was genuine, trying to find out if something worked, we'd never get an auction done. Ultimately, we're house clearance. We clear stuff from properties, comes into the auction room, and we sell it, which is why we put disclaimers all over the place in the auction to say, come and look at the stuff. We can't say it enough. You know, come and look. There are times that we will bring people in that probably know a little bit more than us, like we are doing. Somebody pointed out with these Pokemon cards, you know, you sort of suggesting that I know more than I do, when actually I don't. Yes, if we get a base set of Pokemon cards in, we will bring in somebody that probably knows a bit more than us, because they can be worth a lot of money. But ultimately, these stuff that goes into boxes and things in the auction room, you know, you're just assuming that everybody is buying it to sell on and make money, and then if it's fake or if it's a copy or whatever, then they can't do that. But do you know what? Some people are just buying this stuff to give the kids to play with. And I think the thing is, these days, since we've got into a world of Temu and AliExpress and others that are out there, where lots of people are buying stuff from abroad and having it delivered to them quite cheaply, then, you know, it can be quite easy to get caught out these days. I remember watching a show on the BBC years ago, which we was actually involved with as a clearance business. We did the radio side of it, and it was something to do with wheeler dealers and that. And the BBC this is, yeah, actually showed a fake Rolex being sold in an auction room. And then people are saying, well, it's against the law to sell, but ultimately they're just selling it in a bag of assorted as a watch. It's just a watch. Okay, the problems come when you start stating things, if I was to state that we had a copy Rolex or Omega or whatever, and we thought, well, that's not right, that just doesn't look right, it's not heavy enough, whatever the reasons may be for it being not right, it could still probably be sold in the auction room with all the stuff and all the rest of it, but we would have a real problem if we went, that's a Rolex, that is, that's a Rolex watch. Then people would have every right to come to us and say, you can't say that because it's not. And so it can be very difficult. I don't want to get into arguments and debates with people, but you ask any auction room across the country, they'd have this same issue all the time where trying to actually find things that are right and wrong can be quite tricky. Anyway, we'll leave that there. Bang & Olufsen stuff was selling really well. That was an interesting piece that I'd never seen one of those before, and it's actually got rubber feet. Basically, what you do with that one is you sit it on the floor, and someone suggested it was maybe some sort of bass unit or something for when you play music. Now, this one here, this one here, where was it? I know we've gone past all that now. I was going to look a little bit further on. So all the electrical stuff was selling okay, and then we came on to these. We came on to what I considered to be a bit more exciting in this wall. Now that cuckoo clock. If anybody heard this cuckoo clock going in the auction the other day, it was a beauty. It really cuckooed quite nicely. The cuckoo would pop out, and then when it had finished on the hour, you had a little thing of dancers that would spin around it, play music to you. Quite a nice piece. I think it made about £70 odd quid, that one. So that was a nice piece for the auction that somebody was going to take home and enjoy. And I know a few people were after it. A few people were bidding on that one. Now, I want to come to these next. So there was these speakers. Now again, I've seen somebody sitting behind a keyboard again going on about, because we did a video about these where we'd found some online that was 700 quid. Yeah, I am absolutely, and what they've said to me is, I would say my speakers are worth 6 million, but you need to go to sold listings, which is what we suggest nearly all of the time. However, the idea of that video is showing you that there are items that are out there that are for sale. There was also some at £1,800, but we didn't show those. We showed the one at 700. So, it's up to people to do their research, when it comes to an auction. And we have always suggested this. We've done it on the podcast as well. Look at the sold listings on eBay. But better still, don't just look at eBay. Okay, because eBay is not the be all and end all of everything. There are lots of other sources out there to get information from. Okay, and then we came to them other speakers where there was those Bang & Olufsen ones there. They made £200 yesterday, which, hopefully somebody's going to, I know it's a dealer that's bought those, so they're going to take them on and maybe make a few quid on it for themselves as well, which is what the auction is all about, if you can. So we came on to the ammunition boxes. They all sold. And again, one or two people were after those. As we came down here into the back room, I thought that was quite interesting. A clock made out of clock parts. Somebody bought that, and then the Hulk and Spider-Man canvases were all selling, and then that big picture, which was a little bit different. We had a bit of a giggle about that one in the auction yesterday, as she's laid on the bed eating a fruit. And as we come around here, mirrors were selling well yesterday. We had one of our good friends of Prestige Auction in from down south, and he loves his mirrors, so he was buying a few of those. And then we had some more vintage hi-fi and stuff, which is always good. The records that were in the room yesterday weren't amazing. So some of them did okay, some of them didn't. Some of them struggled to sell. As we come down this way, we got more onto the back room, which we all know is the mixed box room. There's all sorts in there. You never quite know what you're going to find in the back room. But they're always worth looking in, because that's sometimes where the bargains are hidden. And this stuff did okay. This was, I'm not quite even sure what it is. Probably something to do with flower arranging, is it? And people were buying all this stuff. And there was a big box of it somewhere. There it is. There you go. There was two boxes, one on top of the other. And then as you come down here, more and more boxes of assorted. Then we started getting onto the back room, which I was quite excited about this week. There was some great stuff in there. And I'm just looking now to find out what there is. So there was all those caster wheels, those ones there, they all sold. And then there was this sailor radio that made a few quid. But it was all about the tools and things. Some of the tools and that were in the back room, they just made a few quid because they were good. It was good quality gear. There was a bit of interest inside everything. So, this stuff was selling well in the back room. A lot of people that are sort of resellers and side hustlers, they kind of ignore the back room, which I never understand. Get yourself looking in that back room. That back room is actually a fantastic place to look in because there's lots of hidden gems in there. Lots of bargains to be had every single week. So, if you're a reseller, don't just limit yourself to one thing. Your tools and stuff like that, stuff like this, can make a few quid. You've only got to be making fivers and tenors and all the rest of it. All of this stuff is there to buy. So as we came around this way, there was more and more stuff. Lisa sort of took control of most of this, and then I took over at sort of this point, I think it was, and finished off the back room, and then with all the tools and that sold, and then we moved on to the front table when we get to it. And the front table, the Bandit, that made £160. I think the reason that didn't make as much as some of the others have recently is that people felt that there was one or two issues with it. It was stated quite clearly on it that it needed a service, so it would have been a nice one if you can get it running properly. That's quite a nice one to have because you can, it pays up to £3, which is quite good. You don't have to spend a fortune on it. Bit of a bun fight on for the this stuff. The gaming was selling quite well this week, but this stuff here, the Spode Italian, there were some good bids on that, and I think the people that was the bids that were left on the book by dealers and such like were taken out. The train didn't sell, which was a surprise because that we came down to £250 on that, and there's a lot of money's worth in that. As we come here, you can see that there was a shut and fasten the gate sign there, and also sorry, I can hear Lisa. Just sorry, 1 second. Okay, so looking down there a bit further as well, we came onto the appliances. Appliances were cheap again this week. Once again, no second-hand dealers in the shop, in the auction room. So we put it out there once again. If you're a second-hand dealer, get yourself down to Prestige. There's bargains to be had, money to be made. This was a nice one. The Ulsby clock made, I think it was £210, which, to be quite honest, is not a bad price for that these days. Long case and grandfather clocks are not selling like they used to. There's no doubt about that. As we come down here, we got onto one or two bits of furniture. The hall stand was quite a nice piece. That sold all right. Shame it was missing the stick things at the bottom there. That would have been, I think that would have made it a lot more money had they have been there. And when we came onto the general furniture, do you know what? There wasn't a great deal in there, to be honest, this week, which suits me because furniture is one of the harder things to sell, I find, unless it's really, really good. But bits and bobs did sell. People, and do you know what was really nice yesterday is that some people that really needed the bargains got the bargains, and that's quite nice to see. People that are starting out and all the rest of it, and they're coming to the auction room and they figured the auction room was a good place to come to get cheap furniture to get you going, and you can always replace it in the future. This sold okay. That was a nice thing as well. Well presented, and then there was easels in there as well. They all sold. I mean, to be quite honest, there weren't a huge amount of not solds this week, because what you'll find as well, people go, seem to get a lot of not solds there. But actually, when you consider that the phone is constantly ringing, people buying them after they've not sold, then if it went down to £3, they can buy it at £3, and a lot of people do that. So it's always like, when is a not sold actually not a not sold? Well, quite often that telly sold as well. But overall, I thought it was a pretty good sale yesterday, and lots of people came in, stuck it out, was done in record time again. 3:30 I think was done for yesterday, but we still didn't manage to get out of the building till gone 7 last night. But there you go. Thank you, everybody, once again for tuning into Prestige Auctions and watching our short videos that we do. We do like to keep you up to date with everything, and we've got loads of new content coming out. Remember, watch the podcast this week. If you want to get involved with the buying and selling, we are doing a challenge for us versus our customers in a buying and selling challenge. We're all aiming to go on a Caribbean cruise, and let's get as many people on that cruise as possible, all from a £20 note. We're going to show you how to do it, hopefully, at Prestige Auctions. We've got a cracking week coming up. We're going to be doing lots of videos this week. We've got so much to show you. So anyway, thank you once again. If you do get a second, just hit that thumbs up for us. It does help us out a lot. And we will catch you all again very soon at the auction.